It is not an easy step to make, but the vaccine questioning has been a catalyst to bring people together and make communities players in the controversy. So far, we have explored how we can access the scientific credentials of organizations, papers, scientific journals, and scientists. Within the scientific sphere, those questioning vaccines are rather at the margin. However, in public scientific controversies, the arguing spills in the public sphere. People build their own opinion about vaccines, often espousing views shared by other people around them. Clusters of people sharing similar opinions emerge. In the case of vaccination, this is particularly significant because rejection of vaccination creates pockets of low immunization and negates a key feature of vaccines, herd immunity. And small communities with low rates of immunization can have major impacts because a vaccine can protect most people within a community against a contagious disease, including those who are not vaccinated, because babies, children, pregnant women, and immunosuppressed individuals, for example, people undergoing radiation therapy, cannot be vaccinated. But those who cannot be vaccinated can be protected by something called herd immunity. If they are surrounded by a critical mass of people who are vaccinated. For some contagious diseases like polio, a critical mass of 70% of the people vaccinated is enough. However, in the case of extremely contagious diseases like measles, herd immunity starts only if 90 and even 95% of the population is immunized. Therefore, contagious diseases can flare when herd immunity breaks down in small groups and make sick those babies, children, mother, and immunosuppressed individuals who could not be immunized. We will look at two kinds of communities. The first group I will call besieged communities. These communities can be islands of shared religion, ethnicity, or language within much larger different populations. Some communities might come to distrust vaccines, like the Muslims of Kerala in India, the Somali of Minnesota in the United States, and the German-speaking communities of northern Italy. Vaccination has become perceived as imposed on their community from outside and against their community. And there is now the phenomena of well-off communities in industrialized countries. While it was previously the poor who was skeptical of vaccines in the industrialized world, a growing number of well-off citizens have come together around shared values that include hostility to vaccination. Vaccines have become a trade-off between individual freedom and a cohesive society, or between individualized alternative medicine or education and a soulless biomedicine or government-imposed education. These communities becomes pocket of low immunization, grounds for new outbreaks of contagious diseases. When tipping against vaccination, besieged communities and well-off communities need to invent a rationale negating the life-saving history of vaccination. Arguments emerge questioning vaccination, ranging from the very factual, there is a contraceptive hidden in the vaccine, to value-laden objections, vaccines are useless, vaccines are unnatural, or vaccines are an attack on freedom. When actively promoting such anti-vaccine statements, and sometimes through community leaders or well-funded and extremely vocal grassroots organizations, some communities become key actors in the vaccine controversy. And since their unimmunized members are more susceptible of becoming infected with contagious diseases, they can be perceived as a risk to their neighbors. In fact, neighbors need to reach higher levels of herd immunization to contain any arising outbreak in such groups. They become controversial communities. In Pakistan, one of the last holdouts of the polio plague, Taliban have killed dozens of polio vaccinators in the northwestern tribal regions of the country. The English channel Al Arabiya quoted a Taliban spokesperson saying that Jews and the United States want to stamp out Islamic beliefs through these drops. An Al Jazeera feature described that armed religious groups allege that the polio vaccine is part of a plot to sterilize or infect children. In India, some Muslim leaders of the state of Kerala sustain doubts about vaccines. When you trust doctors more than God, they say, it is perfidy. In the United States, Americans of Somali origin have congregated in the state of Minnesota. From firm believers in the virtues of vaccines during many years, they are now keeping their children away from vaccines. In all those surrounded small communities, the feeling of being threatened can be more easily blown up, and vaccines become entangled in some conspiracy theories. In the so-called well-off communities, the situation is totally different. For some reason, people create a different community totally from scratch. Austin, Texas, in the USA, is a good example of the well-off mistrusting vaccination. Andrew Wakefield, the discredited author of the retracted paper that supposedly tied vaccines to autism, now lives in Austin, Texas. His presence has strongly energized the anti-vaccine movement grouped under the banner Texans for Vaccine Choice. Its impact is growing. According to the Washington Post, Peter Hotez, director of the Texas Children's Hospital Center for Vaccine Development, has predicted that 2017 could be the year the anti-vaccination movement gains ascendancy in the United States. It is particularly ironic that Texas be at the leading edge of anti-vaccination, and particularly the city of Austin, because in Austin there is the Texas Children's Hospital Center for Vaccine Development, which is developing several potentially extremely useful vaccines. How can a science journalist cover a community that opposes vaccination, particularly if the community uses statements that are more based on values? Statements like vaccines are an attack on freedom cannot be circumscribed within science. But there are some entry points. Herd immunity provides one entry point. An epidemiologist can explain how vaccines can protect even the individuals who have not been vaccinated and cannot be vaccinated if a large majority is immunized. By now, objections to vaccinations stilted on individual freedom have been examined by enough philosophers, sociologists, and political scientists that they can be interviewed and provide great material for stories. In the end, a science journalist can and should write stories that do not shy away from discussion about values. In fact, we will look at several factual and value-laden statements in the following section.